What's up, TCG enthusiasts? Today I'm bringing you my own personal deck profile, straight from a top 3 finish at the first ever Union Arena Nationals. People asked me to make content, so here's my shot at it. If ever this video pops off, I have 3 video series that I'd love to bring to life. First off, deck profiles, starting with my very own today, not to mention my 2 teammates, one of which is Jason, the Bambi's player from Nationals, and another one is my co-worker and very close friend Jean-Manuel, who also top 16 Nationals with Red Kenshin. Second, feature matches from my locals. Here in Montreal, where we average about 30 to 40 players weekly. In this series, I'll voice over some of the matches, probably one a week, and give my insight on what maybe the players could have done different or what they did well. Basically just watch feature matches. It could be fun, could be educational. Third, a series where me and my girlfriend, we practice matches every night, and the goal is to follow her journey to hopefully top nationals, or at least make nationals. I think this could be a very good video, and it could help players who are maybe a bit shy to come out and help them, maybe reach their first top also. So without further ado, let's get straight into the reason why everyone's here, which is my deck profile. Starting off, I'll show you guys the trophy. The camera doesn't give it justice, but it's absolutely beautiful. Alright, here we go, guys. So, of course, we start with our personalized APs. Everyone has their set of APs that they enjoy. I went with 3 foil APs from the EVA series. I was lucky to get my hands on 3 of them. Shout out to some players at my locals. Amazing. They brought me a lot of luck. I was very happy to be using them. Now, right into the deck. So we'll start with the heart of the deck. Shinji, 4 costs, 2 AP, 1 AP, depends where you're playing him from. This guy is the heart of the deck. He's good for so many different reasons. First of all, he's a discard outlet to get the raise engrave. Second of all, he's a Shinji, which is the raid target for our boss monster. Third of all, he's double energy. Fourth, he's a color trigger, which, I mean, every color has a color trigger, and you're only allowed 4, so why not abuse of it? And lastly, he's both defensive and aggressive as a card. So for those of you who don't know his effect, when he comes into play, he can swap if you want. You don't have to do this, guys, but let's say you have another Shinji in the back or another like a 0 cost that's just sitting there, but you don't need the energy. Well, you play him in the front, you swap. And there's actually moments also where you swap back a guy from the front to the back because you need it as a raid target or the energy line. Multiple plays come up. As you play this deck more and more, you'll figure them out. This guy's very important, guys. The goal of the deck is to get this guy in grave as fast as possible. Once he's in grave, we can start setting up our combo every turn. And what's the purpose of a combo deck? Well, to combo off. So get this guy in grave, combo starts. Step 1. Alright? I'm going to keep one of these guys aside because we're going to talk about him quite often. And that way, you guys understand by the end of this video how important this guy truly is. Next, we have the pseudo 0 cost Shinji. And what I mean by that is, if you start with this guy in hand and you have no cards in hand, he can be played as a 0. Why do we play this over a natural 0? Well, for 1, he has active trigger. For 2, he's a 2k body. 3, he's a Shinji. But 4, more importantly, his effect allows us to look at the top of our deck and decide if we want to either trash that card or keep it on top. Why is this good? Well, once again, guys, we're a combo deck. So knowing our top card or having an idea of what we might draw or what our next turn is very important. Usually when you play combo decks, you don't care about your opponent's turn. You care about your turn. So if you can think 1 to 2 turns ahead with this deck and you could set up the infinite combo, no, it's not infinite, guys, but you draw most of your deck, so it's pretty much infinite. If you combo off 2 to 3 turns in a row, you're guaranteed to win. So you just want to play whatever consistency cards you can to figure that out, right? It's like a puzzle. Once you solve that puzzle, everything gets so much easier. One thing I want to mention, guys, that I forgot to mention with the 4 cost is try to raid on the 4 cost more than the little one. The reason being is that if this guy is your only Shinji 4 cost in play, either in grave or in play, you want to always raid on this Shinji. Why is that? Because if this Shinji is not in the graveyard, you no longer have a discard outlet for your rays. And if you cannot get rays in your graveyard, you're no longer comboing off. So always remember that, guys. It's actually one of the bigger misplays that a lot of people make, is that they just think, oh, like this guy's double energy, so I need to keep him. But then if you're not paying attention and you don't raid on this, well, you're no longer able to discard rays, and you're no longer able to continue comboing off. And then your combo deck becomes a Nambo deck. You become a terrible deck. So pay attention, guys. Make sure that if you don't have a second copy of this guy in grave, you're always raiding on this Shinji. Next, we have our first 0 cost of the deck, Misato. So, funny story, when we were first testing this deck, my teammate actually proxied the deck. And in that proxy deck, he was running the 0 drops Shinji. To be honest with you guys, I don't even remember what the trigger of that Shinji is. I just know that it's irrelevant. This Misato comes in so clutch. Oftentimes, you'll have this Shinji in hand and this Misato, and right there, what's step 1 of the combo? Getting this Shinji in grave. So if you can draw a card and discard a card, well, not only did you just net 1+ card, yes, I understand, guys, you're drawing and discarding, but this in your grave is a card. So this is an extra card in hand once it's in your grave. But not only that, you have ways to stack the top of your deck in this deck, and that's very important because that's a pseudo tutor. What do I mean by tutor? Well, a way to find a card you need or set up a card you need. Not to mention, I keep saying not to mention, but it also has a draw trigger. Every card in this deck is incredible, guys, so you'll hear me say that a lot. Draw triggers are obviously very important. You'll see later down the line I actually added an extra draw trigger just because, well, you need to discard 2 cards in hand to play the Shinji, and you often don't want to discard your raids. So you need to have as many cards in hand as possible to get the combo going. Once the combo's going, it's pretty much an infinite combo. So awesome, stack your deck, draw cards you need, can draw you a final once you've stacked, or discard a Shinji. Very important. Later down the line, you just discard them to summon back the Shinji, so it's never actually a dead card. And it's a 0, so it just guarantees you more hands that you can keep right off the beginning. Next up, we have the Ray package, guys. So most people play 16 Rays. I opted to play 15. So I'll get into that shortly. We'll give you a rundown of each Ray one at a time. So Ray 0, no, not Ray 0 from the anime, Ray 0 cost from EVA, is the best card in the deck. Why is this the best card in the deck? It just branches you into so many faster turns. If you start with this in play, you're basically 1 turn faster than you normally would be. Now, these 0 costs exist in every color, every deck pretty much. But what makes this one particularly better than the rest of them is that, well, Ray is your raid target. And once I get to the 4 cost raid of EVA 0, you'll understand that not only do I get to save the fact that this won't die at the end of turn, but I get to summon this back and it's a 2 energy producer. And then, I get to add 2 energy again. Also, with the stage, which I'll show you later on in the video, you can actually play her, use stage to put her active, and then give yourself 2 mana right away. So this card's absolutely insane, guys. It's it's the opener that you always want. Yes, of course, this is the heart of the deck, but it's not the best card in the deck. Everything around it is what makes it the heart of the deck, right? These are the organs, these are the bones, these are whatever you want to imagine, but this is incredible. Now we get into the 1 cost. So what was I mentioning earlier about pseudo tutors? Well, this 1 cost is one of those pseudo tutors. 1 cost Ray basically allows you to look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you want, you can put 1 into the grave. So you look at top 3, these are my 3 cards. Oh, I have a Shinji, boom, it's in the grave. What was step 1 of the combo, guys? Getting the Shinji in the grave. Once the Shinji's in the grave, everything else is bread and butter. It's super simple, just get this guy in grave. Not to mention, you also get to see 2 extra cards. So now you know if on your turn, do I AP draw? Do I set myself up? Like, am I going to draw a 2 energy producer? Funny enough, sometimes it can also show you that you're about to brick for 2 turns. So, you know, but most of the time, this is a pseudo tutor, insane, can also be summoned back off the 4-cost raid that I'll be showing you. And when that happens, it pretty much allows you to start with, you know, knowing your next 2 draws, setting up your 6-cost EVA, etc, etc, etc. This card's absolutely insane. Again, a draw trigger, very important to the deck. Like I said, I added an extra card just for a 9th draw trigger. You'll see that later on. Now for the Ray I only play 3 of. This Ray in particular, at first I was on 4, but actually the locals right before nationals, it happened too many times where the pseudo 2 energy of this Ray ended up being 1 energy because all the Rays are in hand. And what that means is that if ever you combo off with exactly all 4 Rays and then they're in your hand, well, you no longer have 2 energy, so you can't discard 2 to bring back the Shinji because you won't have 4 energy. Usually you'll have like this and a 2 energy, that's only 3. So now I have to play a 0 or a 2 or another card, and then I have to bring this back, so that's already 2 APs wasted. Therefore, I'm probably not doing my combo again. And like I said, guys, the goal of this deck, do the same combo every turn. Sometimes you even get to set up 2 Shinji or EVA 1s, and that's when you just start going wild on your opponent. Now, I won't only talk bad about this card. It does have some added benefits. Nullify Impact is very huge in this format. There's a lot of games that come down to like a race, and you know, with 5k impacts and stuff in the format, you need something to protect yourself. So, you know, being able to play this in front late game and have a protection obviously is very important. One thing you'll notice, guys, is I'm playing 3, and if you've seen any of my interviews or any of my deck profiles on other channels, I mention it quite often. When I play 3 of a card, it's because I want to see 1, but I don't want to see more than 1. So what's the theory behind 3? Well, for first of all, she doesn't have a trigger. And yes, hitting her in grave off life is actually good because you want the raise in grave. It still hurts sometimes to not have a trigger. So you just want to see as little as possible. Once you have 1 of these in grave, you pretty much have everything set up, and the rest of the game should be easy from there. Now I'll get to the second best Ray of the deck. Yes, the 1-drop is very good, but this one is incredible, guys. Once again, we'll start it off with the same thing always. Double energy is super important. We are a 6-cost deck, so we need at least 2 double energy producers at all times on the field. Second of all, it has the same effect as the 1-cost Ray, except you only see 2 cards. But you can discard both cards if you want. So let's say you have 2 bricks on the top. Well, bricks no more. You know, huff and puff, blow the house down. No more bricks. Beautiful. Not to mention 2 AP once again, and even more important, she's one of the 8 active triggers of the deck. So why is active good in this deck? Well, once again, you'll see later on with the 4-cost raid that we have double block. So hitting an active trigger on a double block is 2 absolutely free blocks, and I mean that just takes away almost a full turn. You could almost call that a time warp, but you know, you basically stopped your whole opponent's turn. Absolutely incredible card, guys. That's it for the Ray package though. Now let's get on to some of the techs we played, keeping the heart over here, of course. So I'll get into the first tech. This Masato is something that I was experimenting with a lot before the event. I was like jumping between 1 and 2. Originally, right before I registered my deck, at the front of the line actually, I had 2 in my deck and 1 of the stage, which we'll get to after this. Raid as the judge told me, hey, once you've registered for this event, this is final deck list, you can't change it anymore. I actually went ahead and switched to 2 field and 1 Masato. The reason being is that for me, consistency is key. Whenever I build any deck, I just want to be as consistent as possible. And this card didn't add that much consistency other than being a real 2 energy card. So the logic was I actually cut one of the 2-cost rays so that technically I'd have 4 double energies here, but one of them is a legit double energy. Also, the effect to push up came up quite often. It's really good versus Red Kenshin. It helps you, clear your backline so you could get a free block off against Red Kenshin. And if they want to play Killshin against you, well, now your EVA raids get to die and you get additional effects. So it's not a bad card. The other effect, I never actually used it, the plus 1000 BP. I guess it could be relevant if you put it on like a Shinji, he becomes 45, that pushes through a damage. So I guess both effects are relevant. And like I was mentioning earlier, guys, this is my 9th draw trigger. I want to draw cards because I need cards to discard for Shinji. Once I have cards to discard for Shinji, the combo's going. So that's the logic behind the Masato. Put that over here. Now we get into the stage. This is the second card that I swapped in and out, in and out, in and out. I went from 1 to 2, 0, 1, 2, 0. This card is too consistent, guys. Like I started off with all the other broken cards in the deck. It's a double energy producer. It's your like 15th and 16th raid. This adds any of the raids in your deck, which you play 12 of. So, or it's not 15th, 16th. Sorry, 13th and 14th. And it has actually a pretty crazy effect. So when this is on the field, you can swap anything on your energy line to active. So let's say late game, I need to push through damage. Well, I have this random 2-cost ray in hand that I added back from EVA 1. I could play it, put it active, and then discard 2, swap it with the Shinji, and now I have an extra body, an extra attacker. Maybe I need to push through that extra damage. So that's very, very important. Also, you could play it with the 0-cost ray. So if you have the field, and then you play the 0-cost ray, effect, make this active. Now I have an instant 2 energy producer, which opens up, remember, 6-cost deck. Just this alone is 4 energy. Imagine if I have another 2 energy or 2 1 energies, now I can go off, okay? Very important, guys. Consistency is key. I can't say that enough. If the channel pops off, you'll hear me say that 1,000 times. I build my decks for pure consistency. I don't want to brick because that's just sad, right? No one wants to lose by bricking. We saw it in finals. That's not fun. We all want to give the game a shot, and that's that. Now, for the other best card in the deck. This EVA is absolutely broken. I have nothing else to say. Every effect on this card is absolutely insane. It's a 4K, double block, and when sideline, draw 2, discard 1, and summon back either 0-cost ray or 1-cost ray. So you literally get to choose. I draw 2, I discard 1, which, oftentimes you're discarding a Shinji that you had. Even if it's your second Shinji, now you can start raiding on the little one. So it's still a big play. You get to keep your 2 energy. But draw 2, summon back a guy, and the options you have are either a double energy producer or, the pseudo tutor that I told you about. So being able to pitch something from the top of your deck and starting your turn off with a whole like combo idea, I guess, because your next 2 draws. So you can go EVA 6 drop, draw 2. We'll get to that. Huge, 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 huge. The other thing is that sometimes you just let this die on the first attack, and then you'll play like a ray in the back, and then off that ray that you played in the back, you now have 6 energy, and you'll hit a raid off life, and you'll raid the ray, and you start with a ray in play, or an EVA 0 in play. It's absolutely incredible, guys. This card does take skill, though. You do need to know when to block, when to not block, because obviously sometimes if you block the first attack but then you hit an active trigger, you're gonna feel bad, because hitting an active trigger with this card is literally like you stopped your whole opponent's turn. You literally stop 2 attacks, and you start the turn with a 4K beater that if ever it gets specialed off life or anything, it's just draw 2, summon back a guy. Absolutely incredible card, guys. I can't say it enough. Heart of the deck. Obviously, there's matchups where if it gets put to the bottom of your deck, so like Toto, Kenshin, it's very rough. But If ever it gets sidelined, you're almost guaranteed to win that game. It's simple as that. So, the raids. Now I'm still holding the raise. Now for the next EVA 0. Guys, I come from Yu-Gi-Oh! I can't lie to you. Any card that says draw 2, destroy a guy, summon a guy, I mean, that's a +4 on its own. I can't, like, there's anyone who's watching this is probably someone who loves TCGs, and you'll understand everything I just said is broken. It doesn't matter if you come from Magic, doesn't matter if you come from One Piece, doesn't matter if you come from Yu-Gi-Oh! For all I care, you came from Naruto back 10 years ago. Draw 2, pop a guy, play a guy. Guys, I can't say anything other than that. That's crazy. One thing I will say about this card is that I don't see enough Red EVA players doing this, is that sometimes you just summon this card and you push it up and then you start swinging. And the reason being is that if they want to special this, well, it's a draw 2. That's absolutely insane, right? That's a +3 if they decide to special this. So, I mean, nothing else to say on that. If you hit it off life, you start the turn with draw 2, pop a guy, play a guy, and you still have your 3 APs. That's like, wow. Alright, now we're getting near the end. Here's Big Daddy himself. During the event, funny enough, I was talking to a judge and he asked me, have you ever, like, impact 3'd someone? And then, you know, short little side quest story, it made me realize that, you know, the Union card design is absolutely incredible. The only reason this card has impact 3 is because, you know, this is when EVA 1 causes the 3rd impact. Sorry if I spoiled it for anyone, but that's the concept of the card. EVA 13 is impact 4 because that's the 4th impact. Funny enough, I just thought it was cool. Just a couple things about this card. If you have 4 rays underneath, he can't be targeted by triggers. That's one thing you always want to pay attention to, is if you have this and then you have, like, I don't know, some little bodies, you always want to try to attack with the little bodies first, unless you're playing against a matchup that they have a raid that can push back. Because if all their outs are special, well, at this point you're either forcing them to waste blockers or you're forcing them to special something that is irrelevant, right? Because this guy's a 5k defender after, and if he doesn't die, he's a 10k impact every turn, so he's pretty much a guaranteed damage every turn. Another thing I don't see enough players do is sometimes you put only 3 rays under this. Why do you put 3 rays? Well, the first attack you add back 2, you untap. The second attack you swing, you can still add back the 1, he just won't untap. So yes, you might not get through the 10k impact 3 damage, but usually 5k is enough. And if they want to block, well, all the best. That means he's a removal. And you get to add an extra card back to hand. So just be conscious of that, guys. I definitely don't see enough players doing that. And that's obviously, you know, important for the deck, because you need card advantage. You need to discard cards for the Shinji. So those are the raids. Lastly, guys, the special. You have to play the 6-cost special. Funny enough, this is the card you discard the most in the deck. Like I said, your 6-cost raid is your special. This is your real special. So don't feel like you need to ever keep these. I know it's weird, guys. In Union, specials are very important, but in this deck, they're just combo pieces. The reason that I play the 6-cost special over the 4-cost special is because, well, if I can't find one of my 2 of rays, or my 3 of rays, sorry, my 2-cost rays, well, now I could use the special to put another ray underneath, whether it's another 0 cost, another 1 cost, another 3 cost, and now that allows me to have 4 rays under my Shinji, and I mean, that's obviously important. We want 4 so that we can't be targeted. Lastly, guys, for final, self-explanatory, we're a combo deck. We want to do as many actions as possible per turn. Oftentimes when we stack our deck, we can stack one of these on top to make sure that we can keep going off, and this just unlocks infinite plays. At some points of the game, you only have like 2-3 cards on board, and you want to be sure that you know, you're able to go off again next turn, and that often takes an untap. Alright, guys, well, that's the deck profile. you know, hopefully I see you guys around. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video, and you know, stay tuned for future videos. And just remember, guys, with that being said, the reason we're all here is because I love Union Arena!